Anyway, congratulations on your first collection,
Thank
Uncharted
you.
Waters. I was
Yes, yes.
fascinated that in your bio, Paola, it said you're a translator. And, you know, when you come, I don't know what kind of stuff you work on, but obviously different languages, different word power. It must be very apparent to you, especially when you're looking at literature, perhaps.
Yeah. I translate all sorts of text, but the interesting thing about my writing poetry in English is that it is written directly in English. So I never translate a poem. Like either the poem is conceived in Italian and it will
Right.
stay in Italian, or it is conceived in English and it will be in English. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Have you ever tried? I mean, it must be quite a thankless task because, you know, the beauty of poetry is the words in its native language.
yes. I actually have tried, and I have to say that I have difficulty when I need to translate my own poems from English to Italian or
Yeah.
from Italian to English, because as you can imagine, the poem has lots of sounds, assonance, and you know,
Yeah.
so many things are related to the body of the poem that is very difficult to turn
And
into
there are some words that just
in
do not
another,
translate, right?
yeah, probably it's easier if I have to deal with other people's poems than mine.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, let's talk about your poems. I was just curious about this job, you know, when people have to translate perhaps famous works and, wow, how do you do it? It always fascinates me. Let's talk about your stuff. What's in the collection, Uncharted Waters?
Yes. First of all, I was very pleased that the collection is the winner of the Proverse Prize
Yeah,
2020,
well
and
done.
also the recipient of a grant from the Hong Kong Arts Development Council. The collection is divided into four sections, and all of them, as you can imagine, I mean, in all of them, there is the theme of water running through. So the first part is about Hong Kong. The second part is about my travels, mainly in Asia, even if there is something besides Asia. And then the third part is Italy, where I go through my memories and also current events. And then the last part is general musings on things in life, so different themes. Why I call it Uncharted Waters is because, you know, when you, in particular for people, even like you, right, who move from one country to another, you feel kind of suspended. And the uncharted waters are the things that you want to know.
Well,
That
the country I came from is now uncharted waters. It's been a while, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So somehow the uncharted waters is the unknown that is in the known, because even when we think about like the waters, you think that, you know, but much of the Earth's water is still unmapped because the surface can be easily mapped by satellite, but the undersea territory remains
Yeah.
still a deep mystery. So it's a little bit being in between these territories. So of course there is water in between Hong Kong and Italy, my country. And there is as I say, even if I go and visit a country, there will be the water, there will be the known and the unknown. Even living in Hong Kong is the same, because you are part of it, you are not completely part of it
Truly.
for
Yeah.
many reasons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And also the second meaning of uncharted water is definitely the uncharted territory of the English language for me, because I'm not native. I learned.
Better than
I
me.
started learning English when I was 14. In
Yeah.
Italy, the system does. It's not like Northern Europe where you grow up with English anyway.
Yeah.
It's more like how to say conservative in a certain way. And maybe now it's a little bit better, but during my times, yes, it's not that you would have English speaking, you know, teachers or things like that. So,
Well, you obviously think a lot about this, Paola. I mean,
yeah.
you're obviously fascinated by what if and what may be and just plainly unknown. But what is the poem to you? Is it a cathartic thing? Is it what is it? A
Yeah,
companion? I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, definitely. It is a cathartic thing. It is like the urge of writing something that at that moment had to really be written. You know, you feel this urge of, oh, I really need to write about this thing. And in the process of writing, everything changes. And at the same time, you yourself change.
Good.
And yeah, yes, I would really call it like a cathartic experience, because you you are reborn. And here we go back to also the meaning of water in a way, right? That is rebirth, is
so this is your thing. I mean, you could have chosen all sorts of ways to express yourself, but you chose this one, which is interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You know, how come you didn't write a big novel or painting or whatever? Why poetry?
Well, actually, I started with fiction because I did a master in creative writing at the University of Hong Kong, and I major in fiction, but at the same time, that was the moment when I got closer and closer to poems.
You've
because
landed on poems.
we also dealt with poem. And then I started to attend these poetry nights, by Peel Street poets or
it's infectious, huh?
Paola. Yes. So I discovered that for me, it was probably a better place compared to fiction, even if, I still write. I mean, I still write about travels, about culture, I love writing. But if I have to now consider my favorite, place is poetry. Yes.
That's wonderful to have arrived at a place and you've got no doubt in your head that that's you. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. So tell me, do you have any rules when you write? We will hear a little in a minute.
No, I think I try, of course, maybe in particular because I write in English.
Okay, great.
I pay a lot of attention to words. I really want to pay a lot of attention to words. I hope I choose the right ones.
Well, who cares if you don't? They're the right ones for you.
The right ones for me. And then sometimes, obviously, you share your poems with other people who are maybe English speakers, and they may tell you, oh, yeah, this is, but maybe I would pick another word. So this is a lot about sharing as well, because nobody's, expect to write in the perfect way.
Sure.
But yeah, I pay attention a lot to the words, and I also love imagery. So to me, it's very important to really try to transmit what's in my head. And
do you have a copy in front of you?
Yes, I have.
Can you just tell us some of the titles before we hear some? Let's have a clue of how you title your work.
Yeah.
What are they called? Just a handful. Just pick some random ones for us.
Yeah, okay. So the one I'm going to read later, which is the first one from the collection, is Hong Kong from High. Then also in the Hong Kong section, there is a poem called 15 Years in 7 Days, dedicated to an asylum seeker, then who managed to see his family after 15 years. And then in the Asian and Other Shores section, we have Cuba Libre about Cuba. We have Ashes Over the Mekong, which is about the Mekong River. On the Italian one, we have Before Harvesting, which is a reminiscence of my time harvesting grapes with my grandfather.
Wow.
And then there is another one, Ahmed Kaimira, which goes back to the problem of all these people who try to reach the Italian shore by boat. And many of them get lost.
Well, wonderful sounding titles. They sound like paintings. Why don't you read a little bit of something to us, whatever you want?
Yes. Okay. So I would like to read maybe the first and the last. And the reason is because the first one is about Hong Kong and me imagining to see Hong Kong from high, being like a little, pollen or spore flying and seeing Hong Kong from high and what I perceive, right? As again, talking about the belonging and not belonging at the same time. And the last one, just because it gives the title to the collection, it is called Uncharted Waters, and it is about the language.
Okay.
And how when I write in English, how do I feel and what's the process sometimes, right?
Okay.
So I can start with Hong Kong from High. There is an epitaph from The Baron in the Trees by Italo Calvino. The novel is about this young boy who decides one day that he will live on the trees and leave the earth, because he got actually an argument with his family. The argument is because refused to eat a snail soup, whereas the father was forcing him to eat. And then he say, okay, from this moment onwards, I will never come back here. I would just live on the trees. So the epigraph says, will make an army in the trees and bring the earth and the people on it to their senses. Yeah.
All yours.
Yeah, so I'm starting. A spore cradled by breeze, blowing west to east. I claim no motherland, no home as my own. Yet for this foreign land I fall. Venerable banyans welcome my rest, nourish me with drops drizzling down their slender aerial roots. Hollow caverns carved out of centenary wood shelter me from erratic tropical rains, sun rays, birds chattering too loud, too long, blades of fire hitting like iron rods. A soft foam of billowing clouds bounces me around like pollen, impalpable and free, as I watch what unfolds under this safe canopy. The crackling video channel has no subtitles, but I can see it's no love story, no marvel to behold, nor blooming flower. Local winds I meet upon the sand, then follow the spurs of seasonal typhoons. Like a willowhead, I bow to their might, apparent enough, weak in a matter of time, as their untrammeled spirit hangs on. Like a bee buzzing around wisteria, I move noisily, operate, collect treats, retreat into my hive, do the housekeeping, feel a bit sweeter when night falls, a bit bitter the morning after. What would this place look like if I were born a seedling of rice, transplanted to grow and regrow in immutable waters, rather than a seed of wheat, kissed by a benevolent sun, harvested in golden fields, shielded by rolling hills? Okay, so
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's about Hong Kong and the things that we see, and also the changes that went through Hong Kong and everything. So how do we perceive it? And you ask yourself, about the seedling of rice, or the grain of.
That's how you perceive it, right? And that's such an original way of doing it. What we just heard. The seedling, the spore, you know.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Paola Caroni's reading some of her poems this morning. Just remind us about the Proverse Prize, because I think we need to know. Modesty aside, tell me again.
So the Proverse Prize for unpublished collection of poems that they have every year. And in fact, I think if people want to apply, no, maybe now they already closed for the 2021.
Look them up and see.
Yes, but every year there is a window of time, and so I just sent my manuscript, and I was happy that it was picked.
Right, let's have another one then. So this is going to be considerably different, right?
Yes, this one is Uncharted Waters, as as I told you before. Unknown water, unknown territory of writing in a language that is not your own, and that no matter what will never be your 100% own language.
Yeah. Okay, all yours.
So, Uncharted Waters. Yes. Words, obscure creatures of the deep sea, ghostly, translucent, writhing, make my dinghy. I grip vowels by their hoops, or stiff roads, ribbons of gluey algae sticking to the roof of my mouth. I grab consonants by their hooks, multiplying shoots of Posidonia oceanica with its free-floating fruits. Adjectives are still unknown in the hundreds, an abysmal abyss, the huddle zone. I hang on to floats, safe verbs, prepositions, sometimes nouns, couched in modest tones, coiled to craft a raft of my own, when the wind abandons uncharted waters. Yeah.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. I love your how do I put it? The flow, the sense of, it's not structure, it's just more of a direction it goes in.
It's the float, and it's the idea of being in the sea, right? The waves, and then what you see in the sea, you see those algae, you see those, you float and you hang on to the floats, and so it's a little bit of,
Let me ask you a question before we say goodbye, Paola. I asked Liam to send me some music a couple of weeks ago, and he did. It was stuff I'd not heard. But if the two poems we just heard from you were set to music, what kind of thing would it be, do you think? Just anything off the top of your head.
Yes, yes. Well, you're thinking about a specific song then?
No, anything.
Okay. I think that, and this is a project that I have of poem accompanied by music.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about handpan and saxophone and some light percussion, and even probably the reading with a bansuri, which is an Indian flute.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
This kind of, it has to be oriental feeling.
You've really thought it out, Paola. I'll tell you what, in a few weeks' time, let's do some with music. How about that? Once you've had the time to research it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Phil, for having me.
You're welcome.
And thanks a lot, and greetings to everyone listening.
I'll catch up with you in a few weeks, and we'll do some with music. Paola Caronni. If you want to find out more, it's called Uncharted Waters.